It is the 200 level, Mike Carpenter in the basement studio, and I foregoed the live reaction on what would that have been Wednesday evening when Illinois shellacked Northwestern. God damn, man, like just a total butt kicking and a fun night to just lounge on the couch and watch Illinois do their thing. And let's not bury the lead. The lead is not Illinois beat Northwestern by 40. I I don't think that's the lead. I think the lead is, oh God, this team's really, really good, which inspires equal parts excitement and anxiety. Let's start the excitement part. It is okay to dream big. It is okay to start contemplating, what if this team can make a deep run? What if this team can make a Final Four? And damn if it hasn't occurred to me, what if this is that team? And I'm not a believer in jinxes or anything like that, but you know what I mean. You know, I don't need to say it. That team. The anxiety comes in the fact that we've been excited about teams before. And, you know, for 364 Division I teams or however many there are, the season ends not as the last team standing. The season ends with you falling short. And no matter what, that is painful. But what's so bizarre to me, and for those that watch or listen to this podcast, you know where I was on December 13th. I came here on Sunday, December 14th, and I was livid, shall we say. Let's call it what it is. My friend Kenton and I went to that game against Nebraska almost 2 months ago. And on the drive back, and it was snowy and icy, and it was like, enough of this crap. I hate this winter. It's been a long winter. It has been. This basketball team's helped in a lot of ways. But at the moment, they were not helping. That was painful. And it was troublesome only in that we were coming off the heels of the previous year where you were disappointing, or I know it's all relative, but relative to the Elite Eight appearance the year before that, you were disappointing. Last year's team was annoying, right? And the questions you might have had about Brad Underwood, and the questions, no, not might have, I had specifically about Brad Underwood. But I probably said this after the Iowa game. And then the Purdue and Nebraska games only reinforced that. And then last night was like this victory lap. Like, wow, this grand experiment seems to be working. What Brad Underwood did this offseason from a roster building perspective, what Tyler Underwood has done as the offensive guru, I got no quibbles. And how could I? They have responded in the most ridiculously awesome way possible since that Nebraska loss. There's no way in hell, as I was leaving that stadium on that very cold Saturday afternoon, that I would have said, yeah, they're going to win 12 in a row and work their way up to a possible 1 seed in the tournament. They're number 5 right now. I think in the net rankings, they might have moved up to 4 today. There's work to be done, but they're right now, at worst, they are a 2. At worst. That gives you a shot. So to find ourselves here and to find myself on that couch last night, watching this just butt kicking against Northwestern, which I expected a pretty easy win, but not that. And thinking, oh boy, it's time to have those conversations. And again, that's great. It's scary sometimes, but it's great. And it speaks volumes of the job that Brad Underwood did collecting this talent in the offseason, coming up with the plans offensively and defensively with the help of Tyler and Cam Crocker, changing, by the way, as he needed to in the staff to bring Crocker in the first place to help with the defense. But most impressively, how he and this team have responded since that game against Nebraska. I was thinking to myself, am I a hypocrite for, being as ticked off as I was after the Nebraska game? And it's like, well, okay. Being a hypocrite would be, saying one thing and doing another. being a hypocrite might be saying one thing and then saying the complete opposite. So in that way, it could be interpreted as such. Well, Carp, you were saying this back in mid-December, and that is true. And it did take a lot of wind out of the sails for me, thinking, man, are we going to see a repeat of, disappointing losses, just kind of lackluster efforts, which I thought that was still part of the problem with that game. All these concerns were dredged up, and then every single one has been responded to so emphatically that I can't say anything but, wow, Brad, dude, unbelievable job. You know what the shame in this is? He won't be coach of the year. Fred Hoiberg can lose another probably 3 or 4 games. And because of that crazy start and the fact that he does have a very good team, will get coach of the year. Brad would have to win out, and Fred Hoiberg probably lose another few for that to happen. It is insane that we are now looking at 9 years of Brad Underwood and this consistent success, and he won't get one single coach of the year honor. Why? Oh, God forbid he brings in talent, which we've all known has not been the problem. We've wondered how many times has he maximized it. He is maximizing it right now. And we could sit here and we could say, oh, no, don't peak too soon. It's only February 5th, and there's so much left to do. Okay, we could say all that, and those are warranted only because of our historical familiarity with March disappointments. But I'm going to end this opening segment by flipping it back to the excitement part of it. There is a chance that this team can win a national title. That was not even a figment of my imagination on December 13th. And now it is a legitimate conversation to have on February 5th. That is a crazy turn of events. It is a crazy cohering of all these talented dudes into one cohesive whole. So ride the wave, baby. This is, it got real. And it got real quick. And, oh, shit. I don't know, man. I don't know. You know what I mean? Are we not all thinking the same thing? Let's give the sponsors and then do some historical context here with what this team's doing. But best way to support our podcast is, of course, to support our sponsors. That includes Hamilton Walkers, downtown Champaign, steak, seafood, and spirits. It is going to warm up a little bit. So if you've kind of been, cabin fever, closed up, not getting out and about, well, next week it's going to be unseasonably warm. So there's no better place to go get a delicious meal in Champaign-Urbana than Hamilton Walkers. I get the bone-in steak. I go medium. I know steak aficionados probably like the medium rare. Completely understand. Old-fashioned to start. Also, steak fries, which are always perfectly fried to a crisp. Just the perfect amount of fry on that fry. And then if you are into comfort food kind of mode, you can get a family-style side of mac and cheese, which is delish. Or if you're healthy, you're trying to lose those lbs, you can get green beans or asparagus. But whatever you get, service is top-notch always. Hamilton Walkers, a 5-star dining experience. Not really 5-star prices. For what you get, the bang for the buck is just really second to none. That is Hamilton Walkers in downtown Champaign. I know we had Blake was sending me some messages that he and a group were going to Hamilton Walkers. He was kind enough to invite me out. I was unable to do that last night, but I hope Blake said, Carp sent us. And the person at the hostess stand or the host stand might say, I don't know who that is. And say, well, he's that guy right there, the picture behind you with that little shark fin thing in his head. And then they'll say, oh, that guy. Still don't know him, but that's okay. State Farm agent Brian Hansen, online at brianismyguy.com. Life, auto, home, business, renters, you name it. Brian is my guy, and he could be your guy as well. Brian, a big Illini fan. I'm sure he enjoyed that last night. And I'm just thinking in preparation for a possible Final Four run and the inevitable property damage that would ensue in such a situation, it is best to have someone you can trust when it comes to matters of insurance, and Brian is that guy. He's our guy. Brian is our guy. Brian is my guy, .com. Dogtown Heating, Air, and Plumbing, your home's best friend. Give them a call at 217-841-4728. No overtime or weekend fees, guaranteed same-day service. And as part of that, You get an AC check in the spring, which we're going to schedule here in the next few weeks for like usually early April. Furnace check in the fall. Furnace has been operating just so well. Like it has made this winter bearable, and that's saying something. Thanks to Dogtown Heating, Air, and Plumbing, 217-841-4728. And finally, Owen Builders LLC, online at owenbuildersllc.com. For your next home improvement project, check out a gallery of their work online at owenbuildersllc.com. Luke and his staff, great craftsmen, customer service, second to none. They're quick to get back to you, set a timeline, get it done when they say they will get it done. That is owenbuildersllc.com. All right, Champagne Showers Podcast Network. Appreciate them and appreciate you. The listeners and the viewers. Got to start off with a compliment all the way from Mexico. This is our good friend Kenton, who said, Mikey, you've made my day. This pod is truly a sight for sore eyes today. He's on a mission trip of sorts for the local Rotary Club in Mexico, and he is watching from a different country. Are there anyone else out there watching from a country not named the United States of America? Let me know. All right, elsewhere. From Jacob, second weekend is the minimum. Final four is the goal. Get to the Final Four and let's see what happens. Cool. From M. Burrow, and I'm going to read through these now, Jacob, and the rest of these, and then I think they all kind of go into what we're going to talk about today. From M. Brotz, 2330, anxiety is right. Worried about playing the Headhunters Saturday and hope we come out of it undamaged. We'll talk about Michigan State and Jeremy Fears and his nut-kicking antics. That dope. Should I wait? Let's just... Jeremy Fears, just the concept of what he's doing pisses me off. Don't injure one of my players, asshole. Don't do it. Don't do it. We'll get to that later. All right, also from Bobo. Was not expecting to check scoreboard this morning when I got up at 3 a.m. for work and see Illinois win by 40. I wasn't expecting that margin, Bobo. I thought like 15, ho-hum, whatever. It was something to see, that is for sure. And also, Bobo updates us in the net rankings. Illinois 4th in the net behind Arizona, Duke, and Michigan. A good evening to you as well, Whipple. Nice to see you. All right, historical context. I'm sure that within, text threads, conversations in your garage, at the bar, local watering hole, that you've been talking with people. Best Illini team since. Well, let's get this out of the way. KenPom, and yes, it's one measurement, but what I like about KenPom is it is quantitative. It is very mathematically based on just straight numbers. And it's also fairly predictive as to teams that win titles. Okay, so give me one sec here. It was a long day, so I'm sorry. I had to bring my cocktail down with me. Maybe it's not professional, but the beauties of not being on terrestrial radio and just doing this in your basement makes that feasible. Illinois on KenPom right now is 5th behind Arizona, Michigan, Duke, and Iowa State. Here's the deal with KenPom. What it measures is every 100 possessions, how many points better are you than your opponent? Okay, so you get 100 possessions, they get 100 possessions. Illinois is plus 33.2 points. I'll round it up, plus 33.3. Iowa State at 4 is plus 33.6. You go all the way up to Arizona, they're plus 36. So every 100 possessions, they would beat their opponents by 36 points. And then I got to thinking, well, okay, first off, without even looking at KenPom, is this team better than the Elite Eight team? Yes, they are. Is this team better than the Io Kofi team? I had a student ask me that today in class. One of my 8th graders. I said, yes, they are. And I didn't stop to think about it. I kind of caught myself as like, whoa, that came out really easily. I did not even stutter when I said that. Is this team better than 04-05? Now, blasphemy. I don't know. Let's work our way backwards. This team, like I said, 5th on KenPom. This is a very good year for top talent teams in college basketball. You see the numbers creep up because coaches are figuring out how to maximize efficiency, Brad Underwood included. So Illinois 5th in KenPom, plus 33 points every 100 possessions, plus 33. Comparatively, 2 years ago, the Elite Eight team was plus 24. You know what that would be good for in this year of Ken Pom? 21st. That team that made the Elite Eight would be the 21st ranked team in Ken Pom this year. So this team, at the moment, is certainly better than that one. Let's go back to the Io Kofi team, 21. Illinois was number 4 in Ken Pom. The year that really kind of set up a lot of our anxiety, right? This sort of burning need to make a deep run because of what we did not do against Loyola. All right. Illinois in 2021 was plus 29. Okay. Again, that was good for 4th in 2021. Plus 29 in this college basketball, essentially that's Michigan State. This Michigan State team, which is 10th. So are they better than that team? Yes, they are. This is where it gets a little bit whoa. Is this team better than 04-05? Illinois plus 33 points every 100 possessions in this season, and this does factor in the opponents you play. In 05, Illinois was number 2 on Ken Pom, not far behind North Carolina. Those two teams were far and away the best teams in college basketball. This Illinois team, 33.3 points better than their opponents every 100 possessions. In 05, Illinois was 32.7. According to efficiency, this Illinois team is better. Now, that's efficiency. That's not record. That's not March success. And I only say that to broach the topic of what are our expectations now. Second weekend for sure. And I said weeks ago, Operation 3 seed, hammering that home thinking, if you get that, you are primed and ready to make a second weekend, see where the chips fall. Maybe you get some advantageous matchups, maybe a 2 or a 1 slipped up earlier, and then you have a clearer path than frickin' UConn, which, by the way, that UConn team that won it all in 24, they were 36 points better than in 100 possessions than anybody. And that was like a 5-point difference. They were far and away the best team that year. And Arizona this year doesn't even quite get to that level, though they're close. So, yeah, second weekend is right there for this team. Final Four, you know, and this goes for anybody, does require a bounce here, a big play there. You're going to have to beat, if not an elite, a very, very good team or two to make a Final Four. The thing is, this Illinois team looks elite right now, and it's kind of frightening. It's a little bit of whiplash. Maybe more so for me because of how pissed off I was on December 13th. And it's kind of been a, you know, slow comeback. The Missouri win was fun as heck. And then you got into January, and the Iowa game made me think, oh, okay. I mean, bear in mind, guys, after the Nebraska win, or loss, excuse me, you beat Missouri by 43, Southern, Penn State, Rutgers. The Iowa game was, oh, okay. Northwestern away. You won by 11, though, you know, Northwestern did what they do at Walsh Ryan. Minnesota, Maryland. So, I mean, are we really looking at the Purdue game, or really more so the Nebraska game as the we're really good? And I think it is a mix of both. I think the Purdue game showed you have one of the best players in the country, which Keaton Wagler is. According to Ken Pom, he is number 4 in the entire freaking country. And this is a freshman, mind you. And sometimes Ken Pom is a little bit more favorable for guys that have a track record, that are older players. As it stands right now, though, 4 of the best 5 players in college basketball are freshmen. 4 of the best 5. Cameron Boozer is far and away the best player. Of course, Carlos Boozer had not 1 but 2 kids. Only one of them is actually really good. Joshua Jefferson at Iowa State, he's a senior. But Kingston Fleming's from Houston, phenom. Keaton Wagler, phenom. Caleb Wilson from North Carolina, phenom. I said this after the Nebraska game. Don't give me this Braden Smith Big Ten Player of the Year. No. And don't give me Jeremy Fears and his nut-kicking shenanigans, that little punk. And don't give me Yaxel Lendenberg, as good as he is. It's Keaton Wagler, Big Ten Player of the Year. It's Keaton Wagler, All-American. Full stop. By the way, you don't need to worry about Jeremy Fears winning Big Ten Player of the Year because what has happened the last week has just taken any shine off of him, and he's got a reputation now. So media's not going to do it. Coaches aren't going to do it. That ain't going to happen. A.J. Dibansa for BYU, the 10th best player in the country, probably the number one pick. Would it be him or Cam Boozer? I feel like Dibansa, but I haven't been checking mock drafts recently. So Purdue taught us we got the dude. Okay, we got the dude. And he was still the dude last night, even though he only scored 13 points and was able to play off the ball. He was the dude again at Nebraska. But what made the Nebraska game, and then last night by extension, so encouraging, was the fact that it was the entire team as a unit kicking butt and just so well-oiled and just getting things done with just ruthless efficiency. And I think it was Jess Settles on the call. And he's not the first person to say, I think Mike LaTulip has said this. This team with their slow pace and the fact they don't foul and the fact that they don't turn the ball over and the fact that they get fouls from you and go to the line and they make threes at a healthy enough clip. Right now, by the way, that is at 36%. That'll play. They're shooting threes or layups. The slow pace is just, man, if you're an opponent, it just strangles the life out of you. What it reminds me of is the Wisconsin teams, especially back in the early 2000s, the Dick Bennett Wisconsin teams, the Soderberg, who was there for a little bit. And if you were down by 10, it felt like you were down 20. If you're down 10 to this Illinois team, it's not an easy task to quickly make that up. That is such a far cry from last year where you would see Illinois have a lead that would just evaporate like that because they were just undisciplined and they didn't know how to make that extra pass. Speaking of which, you want to comp to 0405. The spacing and the passing on this team is unbelievable. It is unbelievable. And we've been seeing this now for a month, but it really is highlighted in the Nebraska game. And then last night, which was a glorified exhibition against a really bad Northwestern team. But you broke their will by the first media timeout. Second media timeout. You did. It was over. And they didn't look like they wanted to be there. And I'm just trying to rack my brain around this, guys. Like, why am I so bullish now on this team that 2 months ago, it sounds like bandwagony, but you guys know me. I mean, like, I'm going to be honest when I'm ticked off. But I'm not a bandwagoner. I'm always going to be there. I'm always going to be watching and hoping and please win. And when they don't, I wear it. And when they do, I wear it as well, like I am tonight. But I want to pull up this thought from Justin. And I think it's actually a huge reason as to why I'm getting more and more dangerously bullish on this team. Justin says, we are just so calm. I mean, Nebraska, down 7. Or is it 9? 7, I think, in the first half. Down 6 at halftime. Down 7 again briefly in the second half. Nothing changed. There was no panic. They just kept playing their game. They kept plugging away, knowing that when the possessions all equaled out, they were going to be X points better than the other team. Purdue, that freaking Lions Den. You know, for the entire game thinking, Justin, that we're going to get flustered at some point. This might be the game where Keaton gets flustered. Well, that didn't happen, clearly. And the other guys were struggling from the field, and Stojakovic wasn't good on either end, and yet they just kept plugging away and plugging away. And ultimately, it wasn't Keaton that made the big shots down the stretch. It was Tommy and Merkovich and Jake Davis. They are remarkably calm. With that, Justin, I'm going to point out something that I thought was really interesting yesterday. There was the technical against Tomislav because he was talking crap to that Page guy who was just, just everything about Northwestern. Oh, They bother me so much. I can't. Even my wife asked me last night, "How much do you hate Northwestern?" I said, "That's a great question because I hate them, but I also partly hate them because I don't care about them." And what I mean by that is they're our rival, and it's like, ew, they're our rival. Like, why not Iowa? Why do we have to share a state with this private school garbage from Evanston? And just and they're just annoying and pesky enough. Not last night. And actually, hey, Revenue Sports, man, undefeated against Northwestern this year. Beautiful thing. So that technical though that Tommy had was I loved it. I loved it. I love the fact that this team can mix that don't panic, stay calm. And then he looks up the scoreboard, it's like we're up 30, and this guy won't shut his yapper. And was it a dunk, I think, or a block? I forget. And then he's talking to Paige. He gets teed up because he's taunting, which I think is stupid. I'm sorry. I think you should be able to taunt, but that's just me. And I thought, good. It's not Big Z getting the technical when you're trying to come back against Nebraska. I think Big Z had another technical at some point as well. Merkovich will get one before the year's over. But to me, Justin, it is that fact. And yes, Jacob made comment. It was a block. Thank you, Jacob. It is that mix, Justin, of the calm, not getting flustered, with the fact that they're kind of turning into stone cold killers out there. They want the big shot. They want that big defensive possession. And for 12 games in a row, they're winning those. And I mean, what's the closest game in the last 12? What is the closest game in the last 12? I'm going to pull this up right now. Iowa or Purdue? Iowa, you won by 6. Purdue by 6. There's no buzzer beaters here. 8 at Penn State in the freaking Palestra. These aren't close. I mean, of course, they're competitive because that's what college basketball is now. But you are not sneaking any of these out. There's not a single one of these results that are close to flipping. These are multiple possession wins. Some of them against really good teams on their home court. So, yeah, it got real. This leads me to make one point about Michigan State before I'll talk about the game in earnest. But this will sound like I'm putting on a cup and preparing for the worst. I don't mean to do it in this way, but Illinois could go up to East Lansing on Saturday, and they could lose. And it's not going to do anything to temper my excitement for what they're going to be able to accomplish when it matters the most. This team's not going to win out. There's going to be a loss or two for sure. I just, as good as they've been, there's another loss or two out there. There's landmines all over. Michigan will find another 1 or 2 losses as well. And hopefully one of those is against you, and that's the tiebreaker that can separate the Big Ten. But there's work to be done. Michigan State is, according to Ken Pom, the most likely loss on the schedule. Even if they lose, I'm not changing my tune about this team. Hats off as long as they don't hurt any of our players and we move on. Come home and beat Wisconsin and Indiana. And on you go. So about Michigan State, you aren't losing that game. You aren't. I got about 4 texts all in a row last night about Michigan State, they're gonna be angry. I'm sorry. Forgive me, but shouldn't they have been angry after losing at home to Michigan? Carson Cooper, I think his first name's Carson. I don't really know. After that Michigan game, like a moron comes out and says, "Oh, Minnesota, they better be ready because the mindset we're going to have this week is elite." I'm paraphrasing. It was just gobbledygook. And, of course, they come out and they lay an egg. That's not to say that they won't come out and be the pesky buggers they are against Illinois. You know how it goes. Back, forth. Michigan State up 3 at half, or one possession game, and then you're teetering, and it just and then 10, 9, 8 minutes to go, 8-0 run. And then Jeremy Fears is just running around aimlessly and trying to bump into people, get fouls, but he doesn't get against Illinois because they're disciplined. And Illinois wins 75-69. And we say, damn, may not have been the prettiest, but that team, they just keep finding ways. So I see a win at Michigan State, but if they were to lose, it's not the end of the world. And on you go. And nothing changes about what this team could accomplish when it comes to March. The point of this regular season is get a good seed in the NCAA tournament that gives you the best possible chance to make a deep run. That's the goal of this regular season. Everything else is gravy. If they win a Big Ten title, cherry on top. If they win a Big Ten tournament title, cool. I'll take another banner. I'm never of the mindset, let's not really come out and try to win. Let's try to save ourselves for the tournament. No, play the games in front of you. This narrative that you win a conference tournament title and then you're toast for the tournament, or no, that's unfounded. And by the way, the Elite Eight team won the Big Ten tournament title, and that kind of propelled them through 3 dominant opening wins. Well, Iowa State was close, but 3 really good wins in the tournament before losing to UConn. So, all that said, this regular season is simply put yourself in the best position for March. Now, a 1 seed is there. And I think you can lose 2 more games. But if you beat Michigan and some other chips fall, you can get the 1 seed. It would require some help. If you lose one other game and you beat Michigan, I think you flip with them. I think you get that 1 seed. I think they will lose to Duke because I think they're playing against Duke. When is that? They're playing Duke. And where is that, I should say? It's a neutral site on February 21st. Cool. And that is after playing at Purdue that Tuesday. Then they're Minnesota at home and then Illinois. Yeah. Also, watch Ohio State when they host Michigan, because other than that, you got to wait until at Purdue for a possible upset there. And Purdue, I think they're in that desperation mode, and that Mackey crowd will feel that, and I wouldn't be surprised that propels them to win over Michigan. But here's my prediction. If Illinois loses 1 more, but they beat Michigan, that's a 1 seed. If they lose 2 more and beat Michigan, some other chips have to fall where they may. If they lose 2 more, they lose to Michigan, they're the 2. So what does that mean? You can lose one of the West Coast games. USC and UCLA, that's not going to be easy. You might be able to drop one against Indiana or Wisconsin maybe, but other than that, I mean, you don't have this extended stretch coming up where it's really tough game. You have some not easy ones in a row, like Indiana or Wisconsin, Indiana at home next weekend or next week, but it's doable. All right, this is, but the Michigan State, the narrative. Oh, they're angry. It reminds me of is the Sopranos scene where Chris and Tony are having a steak dinner and they just smuggled or they stole these wine bottles from a motorcycle gang called the Vipers. And they're making fun of how, whoa, we're the Vipers. We're so tough. And like Tony and Chris just got out guns and shot one of the Vipers in the leg. Like, you're the Vipers. Who gives a shit? Like, are you kidding me? We're doing this with Michigan State as bad as they've been playing this month. We're gun shy because of Tom Izzo's history. That's fair. We are. But come on. It's going to be tough. I'm not saying you're going to go up there and smoke them. That doesn't happen at Breslin. But we need to stop acting like this is just a one-off blip in the road for Michigan State. They have not been right for about 2 or 3 weeks. They might get right, but that's a pretty quick turnaround to get right. And we can say that Tom Izzo is going to work his magic pixie dust. And here's the thing. I met Tom Izzo. He was so gracious to my wife and me, and just I do think he is overall a good dude. I know he is considered a crybaby, and he works the refs and all that. The tape is out on Jeremy Fears. There was a microscope on him at Minnesota, and they still missed a few calls. There will be a microscope on him again. And An undisciplined dude like that doesn't suddenly magically become disciplined. That's not going to happen. He will do something stupid. It is in his blood. And I'm not going to say anything about the extracurricular that happened when he went back home to Joliet over winter break a couple of years ago. Plaxico Burress kind of situation, perhaps. I don't know. But clearly, the guy's missing a screw. And you can say, Carp, come on, you're casting aspersions on a college kid. Don't kick people in the nuts, regardless of age. Stop tripping people, you jabroni. I mean, someone needs to wring his neck for this garbage. This Grayson Allen kind of level of just like petty physicality. I mean, he's a good player. Don't get me wrong, but I watch that and just, ew. I think, ew. What kind of human, like, this sounds maybe big. What kind of human being does that? Trips people regularly. So you're worried about Michigan State. You can be worried about the fact that, yes, they are going to give you your best shot. They are 100% going to come out fired up. But let's not pretend that angry Michigan State all of a sudden makes them some elite team. No. If you have a little bit of an off night and they are on, there is a decent chance Illinois loses that game by a small margin. But we need to stop doing this thing about, oh, we're gun shy because Tom Izzo. Please. Stop. Look at the teams. Carson Cooper, Jackson Kohler, right? These white guys that can stretch the floor and they can shoot. They ain't 7'2". You negate their ability for the big guys to stretch the floor because your big guys do that and they're bigger. You put Andrei Stojakovic on Jeremy Fears, you got a size advantage. Jeremy Fears is going to get his when he comes in inevitably after the first media timeout. That's fine. Cohen Carr, that's a tough matchup. They got some guys like Scott, the freshman, that are playing well. They got talent. There's no doubt. But you have been able to figure out your 7-8 man rotation here in the last 3 weeks with Kylan out. I actually kind of like the Kylan's not coming back this game. I think you keep rolling with this. Get him 100% right because you don't need him yet. And furthermore, I love the fact that yesterday against Northwestern, that was an opportunity that Brad Underwood took full advantage of to not extend Keaton Wagler any more than he had to. Merkovich brought the ball up the court like a third of the time. Stojakovic did sometimes. Benham Rickhouse brought it across the court a few times I saw. And then, Keaton Wagler did his thing, but you could tell he was not being taxed nearly as much. In fact, Northwestern doubling him was a great thing for Keaton because he just said, fine, all right, I'll let the other guys do it tonight. And they did. So Michigan State can try that. That's fine. And then all the spacing that Illinois has offensively and the size that they have where you can't block their three-point shooters, good luck. If the rims are tough and the shots aren't going in, you bet it's going to be a hard win to get. It is. It can be easy, but come on. Stop with this nonsense. I'm all about narratives too. But Michigan State already pissed their leg with the whole, we're angry. Michigan beat us. We're going to kick Minnesota's butt. No, you didn't. They got schooled that game by a Minnesota team that is better than their record, to be sure. And Williams Arena, weird things happen. But give me a break. Michigan State is not playing well right now. It will take a Herculean effort from Tom Izzo to get them to a level where they can beat Illinois if Illinois is playing good ball. From Nathan, Michigan State needs this game so much. The problem is MSU can't shoot. MSU did not play defense against Minnie. Minnie got the shots they wanted, especially on mismatches. That's a great point, Nathan. We can talk about Michigan State's offense struggling, and it is. Their defense, according to, I think, Bart Torvik since January 22nd, 96th. 96th. That is 2 weeks of basketball. Sure, Michigan's in there. If you guys watched that game Friday, Michigan State played awful. Undisciplined. Offensively, they were struggling to find anything. And they have their inevitable run in the second half, and you can bet your bottom dollar they will against Illinois. 100%. They will. And there's going to be, but just take some breaths. Remember, it's a 40-minute game, and you're going to have as many possessions as they do. Okay, well, that being the case, who's going to end up with more points? All things being equal. Let's see here from St. Dom. Hey, St. Dom. Carp, I'm worried about Crybaby Izzo and Thug, Michigan State tactics. Remember when they broke Io's nose? I remember. I was watching it here in this studio on my laptop, and I feel like I might have been podcasting, but I didn't have the live setup yet, St. Dom. More from St. Dom. If Illinois can take care of business against Michigan State and scum, that'd be Michigan, Illinois wins Big Ten championship. Well, yeah. And they can afford a loss in there too, because they would have the tiebreaker over Michigan State. I do think Michigan State will have at least one other loss, other than a potential loss to Illinois. Get them to 17-3. You get to 17-3 somehow, some way, but you beat them. Then that's the tiebreaker, and they can take the share, whatever, and hang the banner, because we've hung shared titles before, and that's fine. But you get the 1 seed in the Big Ten tournament and go with that. From Jinx. One sec, Jinx, sorry. Wet my whistle. Fear's heel kick to the privates is as severe as throwing a punch. It's amazing this conference hasn't stepped in to make sure someone doesn't get hurt. Jinx, there was a picture today of what it looked like from behind the Minnesota player, and you see this white foot just half up his crack. And it's funny, except for, like, what is wrong? Like, you want to take him aside and be like, what is wrong with you? Like, what kind of punk kicks another man in the balls and does so in such a little nice pirouette way? Up it goes. I mean, the picture was ridiculous. What is wrong with you, dude? It's funny because I found out that I'm going to be watching the game with my brother-in-law, who's a Michigan fan, and not with my wife, who's a Michigan State alum. And I even told her, like, I told her last night as I watched the end of the Michigan State-Minnesota game, I was like, just let you know, I am not friendly to Michigan State the next 72 hours. I'm not. I want to beat you guys. I want to beat you sizably if possible. I don't like Jeremy Fears. I don't like that garbage. And I don't want to get hurt. And I want our team to win. She was like, whoa. I was like, I'm sorry. I just had to get that out. I'm not really, I can't do the, go green, go white thing, which I usually, it's weird. With Big Ten teams, I don't really have any issue with Michigan State. I've always liked Izzo. I've not been bothered by him as much as some other Illini fans. But no, Saturday night, I want to kick their butt. I don't think they will, but I think they'll win. Let's see what else we got here. This is also from Jinx. The Big Ten is responsible for the nonsense Fears is pulling. This conference hasn't held them accountable. If a player threw a punch at another player, said player would be kicked out and suspended. Or Jinx, remember when Alan Griffin did that like kick of a Purdue player and he got suspended a game, as he should have. Moron. Let's see here. Some other things before I wrap it up. This is from David. It all goes back to Keaton's unflappability with the ball. David, the way that he absorbed those double teams early on and just said, no big deal. The trickle-down effect I would imagine that has on his teammates is something else and hard to measure maybe. We were talking to, this is from Jinx as well. Hot take, I predict that Wagler will be the best pro Illinois has ever produced. I also believe Wagler will make multiple all-star games. I think he's the best one that Underwood will have produced for sure, Jinx. And as Kenton says here, time will tell. He won't be drafted as high as Darren was. I think Darren was third pick, right? Chris Paul second. Darren, solid decade in the NBA, 3 times All-Star, 2 Olympic golds. Yeah, that I think would be, can you match that? I think Keaton's really good. Thing is, man, the NBA, the talent is just, it's ridiculous. And he's got the height. I think he'll grow into his body, though the size hasn't bothered him in college. There is an intangible quality to him as both a player, but also as a person, a leader. He's so cool and calm out there that I don't think you can really measure just how important that is and how well that's going to translate to the NBA. So I am as high on him as any player since Darren for the NBA. Io, you knew, would be a solid role guy, and he is, and good for him getting traded to a better team. And then Terrence, it's surprising that he's not really playing a role on the T-Wolves, but I have no doubt Keaton Wagler will be pretty much an impact guy right away. He's that dude, guys. He is that dude. All right, this is from St. Dom as well. Nebraska and Purdue are better than Michigan State. Michigan State will lose to Michigan, Purdue, and Wisconsin. Yeah, I don't think this is a bad matchup for Illinois. The other thing I thought about watching the Michigan State and Michigan game last Friday, Michigan State couldn't get in transition because Michigan doesn't allow teams to do that. Who's another team that doesn't allow teams to get out in transition? Illinois. Michigan State will get some fast break points. They will. They inevitably do. But Illinois is so good at offensive rebounding that they take some of those opportunities away. And if they're making shots on top of that at a decent clip, like what guys, they go 33% from three on Saturday, they're winning that game. I think they need a cold shooting night and some things to go their way to not win that game. All right. Let's see here. From St. Dom, Illinois in first place. So now we're everybody's Super Bowl, especially on the road. Did the team has to be prepared? We're so close to a regular season Big Ten championship. Yeah. Yeah, you're going to get your best shots from everybody, including the really good teams, and maybe more so with them. But I think St. Dom, this team's personality and how they've adopted this sort of cool, calm thing with an edge when needed is beneficial for that. From M. Brutz, did you catch Keaton's plus minus in the Northwestern game? I didn't. He said it was something historical, outrageous. Let me pull that up real quick. Oh, my God. Michigan just throttled Penn State tonight. They're still really good, guys. I mean, this Illinois team is good. Michigan, really good. And, boy, that Friday night is going to be something else at State Farm. The plus minus I have for Keaton, plus 46. I believe it. Hey, 3 of those were the half-court shot. Unbelievable. He's just crazy, guys. All right. From Kenton, as Austin Powers once said, listen, baby, I don't care if he is a fat bastard. You don't give a man a shot in the pills. It's just not cricket. I don't know if I was trying to do an Austin Powers impersonation there, Kenton, but yes. I can hear the voice in my head, and I would botch it if I tried it myself. All right, before we get out of here, here's the plan. I'm going to be in Michigan this weekend, not going to the game, but visiting family. So there will be no podcast Saturday after the game or during the second half. Getting back sometime Sunday late afternoon and before Super Bowl, which I'm not really, I'm whatever about the Super Bowl. I think we'll try to aim for a Sunday afternoon, late afternoon podcast about the Michigan State game. And I'm hoping that what we're talking about then is a 21-3 team. Yeah, another 21 season for Brad Underwood. I imagine we will. It's going to be tough. It's going to be a crazy environment. It is just trial by fire. You've done it twice at Purdue and Nebraska. I said, win one of those and you're in great shape for Operation 3 seed. You won 2 of them, so now Operation 2 seed is in fine shape. You win this, and Operation 1 seed is still very much at the top of mind and just sets you up for that end of the month Friday night against Michigan. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. We got a lot of games. Appreciate you all tuning in, though. I know it was kind of an impromptu as far as the time that we did it. I like the live podcast, but I do like collecting my thoughts and doing sort of these kind of like more, sleep on it kind of reactions, because I think I can be a little more all-encompassing with it and maybe a little better thought out. So we're still going to do live ones throughout the year, but I do like sometimes taking a breath, doing it the next day, reacting more to things. We will, of course, next week at some point be talking about Illinois' defensive coordinator. We'll see who that is. But I appreciate you all tuning in on this Thursday evening. It's time for my wife and I to go watch The Pit, which is our Thursday night show. Just amazing TV on HBO. But they're not a sponsor. These guys are. Hamilton Walkers, downtown Champaign, steak, seafood, and spirits. State Farm agent Brian Hansen, online at brianismyguy.com. Life, auto, home, business renters, you name it. Brian is my guy, and it can be your guy as well at brianismyguy.com. Dogtown Heating, Air, and Plumbing, your home's best friend. Give them a call at 217-841-4728. Dogtown Heating, Air, and Plumbing. And Owen Builders, LLC, for your next home improvement project. Check out a gallery of their work online at owenbuildersllc.com. All right, I appreciate y'all. Before you get out of here, like, subscribe, follow, however you listen or watch this podcast. And we will see you on Sunday. Hope Saturday night goes well. Hope no one gets hurt. get the W, get out of there, continue your march towards the Big Ten title, and even bigger things, which this team, I think, is fully capable of accomplishing. It is the 200 level.